Okay, Jonathan Shaw here again with Entrepreneur Esquire, and just wanted to start putting out some videos here for you to give you a place to start if you're starting your own law firm. So today, just want to talk about ideas, how to get a website moving. One of the most important things you'll do when you start a law firm is to set up your website. You're going to need logos, you're going to need a website, that kind of information. We'll talk about logos and other things in different videos. But for today, I just want to give you a few ideas about websites and talk to you about what I did to have a website for my office. I think number one, it's important to comprehend that it's not 2005 anymore, folks. I don't know if you noticed, but there's many other ways to reach out to clients. And so in my experience, and this is maybe not the same experience that a lot of people had, maybe it's not the same experience that a lot of people maybe would believe, I don't know, but in my experience, having a website isn't the most important thing in the world. It's important for a few things, but it's not the most important thing in the world when it comes to advertising. And so let's talk a little bit about it. What I did for my website is I got a website on Squarespace.com, and I'll log in there in a minute and kind of show you just a little bit. I'm not going to do a tutorial on how to use Squarespace.com. What I would say is there's a whole bunch of other different sites that will give you a website that you can use that's very functional. What I was looking for and what caught my attention with Squarespace.com was that it works together with Google, and so I was able to set up a domain name and then also get an email address for myself and for any of my employees and future employees with that domain name. But then it works well with the Google Suite and all the Google products. So that works well for me, right? And that's one of the main reasons I have it, is just sort of to have a website, have a domain name, and that, right? And so what you need to do is maybe do some research online, look at other different websites and things that give you options. So another main reason why I went with Squarespace is because I didn't need to know coding. It's kind of a big deal. Attorneys, we don't know different things, right? We know our area, but I don't know how to code. And so I would see that some of these other websites that I tried to develop, and that I tried to develop when I used to work for another attorney back in Denver, and I was working on setting up a website for our Spanish side of the practice. I couldn't understand the coding, and then you would see these beautiful templates and things, and you think, okay, great, I'm going to get this template and we're going to work on it. And then you would go in there and it would try to tell you, do you have to copy and paste this piece of code into this section, this piece of code here, and I'm just lost. I don't do that, right? I don't speak that language, and so Squarespace, you don't have to know coding. You just drag and drop, pick a template, and it might look basic, but really, I mean, depending on your client base and your demographic that you're going after, it doesn't need to be that complicated, right? So something similar to that, where you don't need to know coding. At least that's my suggestion, because otherwise you're going to be paying somebody else always. Every time I want to make a change in your website, you're going to be paying somebody else to do that with the coding and with all that. Maybe it's not going to be perfect. It's just going to be back and forth and a bunch of lost time. And again, if, for your demographic, your client base, your website is the most important thing in the world, maybe it's worth it. For mine, nobody looks at my website. Literally, nobody even looks at it. And so it didn't really matter that much, right? So now, a thing with your website, you're going to want to have a logo, a good firm name, maybe some different things like that. And so a site that I like to use for that kind of stuff, because again, I'm not a creator, I don't create logos, I don't create things, is Fiverr.com, right? So go to Fiverr, and what I did for my logo for my law firm is I just had somebody in Pakistan do it and paid them whatever, 15, 25 bucks or whatever it was, and then I had my logo set up. Another thing to think about is your domain name. So I wouldn't choose just like one domain name, but maybe several related to your area of law. So I do immigration law, and I got immigration elevated, because here in my home state of Utah, where I live now, everything is elevated. You see it in a lot of branding that the state uses and different things. And so what I decided was to use immigration elevated, right? Another thing we see a lot, and this is something to think about when you're choosing your firm name, another thing we see a lot in the state of Utah is Intermountain this, Intermountain that, because we're surrounded by mountains. So I chose the name Intermountain Immigration. And so, just think about a few of those different things, but you could try to find a website that will help you develop a logo, or you could pay a few bucks to somebody that can do that for you and do a really good job with that. With your website, depending on what type of software and different things that you use, as I mentioned before, it's good to see and make sure if it works well with what you are going to use for other things. So I use for my file storage and all that, I use Google Drive. And there's a Google Drive. There's a, it's not your basic one that's free or whatever, but there's one that has, you can have different levels of protection and things, password protected, that type of stuff. Every time I have a new employee leave or come leave the office or whatever, I always change that password and make sure that I'm in compliance with that kind of stuff, right? But I really like it because, like I said, I would log into my website, I create a new email address for a new employee, and then it integrates directly with G Suite, with Google Suite, and with all their products, and then I can share all the files with that new employee, and it's all just jives together and works together really well. And there's a million different things I could do with the website that I haven't done. I haven't done a blog, which is, like I said, 2005, when you talk about search engine optimization, people are like, you have to have a blog post every day, and like I said, it's not 2005 anymore, right? Or I don't know, you can do advertising funnels where you're in Facebook and then they click on a link and it goes to your web page and tells a little bit about what you're advertising, a service or something like that, and they can fill out a form and send it to you. There's a million different things you can do to use your website, but I have so much work right now on my plate that it's not something I really even scratched the surface of, right? I don't know, one last thought before I kind of show you a little bit around my website. I'm just going to show you kind of the back and not really like kind of what it looks like. And again, don't take it as the best example on the planet because I hardly ever use it. I just have it again because you have to have one. One of the things that I like to think about is it's sort of like the business card, right? I have a business card and I hand out my business card. Am I getting a ton of work because I'm handing out a business card? Probably not so much. Oftentimes I don't even have one anymore. So it's kind of your internet business card. It's like you kind of have to have one or you don't exist on the internet, somewhere to go. One of the examples, I guess, is that when I was applying to get on the bar in Utah, they looked at my website, looked over my website, and they picked out that I had been advertising on my website, at least I had in a couple pages, that I did personal injury. But in the state of Utah, I couldn't do personal injury yet because I didn't have my license in the state of Utah. Luckily, I was following all the rules that I needed to follow. I had no personal injury cases, and so literally I just closed down that page and I didn't have to worry about it, right? So anyways, that's just kind of some ideas around your website, just to kind of review and recap. My idea is to have something I didn't need to code. I don't want to learn coding. I just want to be able to put a website out there. But number two, at the same time, something that looks good and that I don't have to call my website guy every single time I want to change something. I want to maintain a lot of that code control in-house, and so that I can edit it and drag and drop and do things on it as I wanted to without having to spend more time and money. And then one of the hardest things to do, and you probably understand this, is taking your idea out of your own head and putting it into somebody else's head. I've learned that that's just super difficult. I want it to look this way. I want it to have this feel, and the text to say this and that and whatever. And you can go back and forth for hours, or you can just do it. But just to do it, you have to have a tool like a website on Squarespace.com or something like that. You don't need to know all the coding in that. Something that looks good, but something that you can control. And then the other thing that was important for me was that it would sync or work together with the Google products that I'm using in the rest of my firm, so that when I have a domain name and I create a new email address for one of my employees or for myself or whatever, it's just already in there. I used GoDaddy.com to find those domain names. And another little quick point about the domain names is that sometimes you're going to find some that are already taken and then people want to charge you a lot of money. So for example, I have a DBA, doing business as Intermountain Attorneys, just in case I need to do some other area of law and I'm not locked into immigration. And somebody has that domain name, they're charging a bunch of money for it. So what I did was I just took the domain name Intermountain Attorney, and then I used that for my email address and the domain name. So let's see if we can jump over real quick just to kind of look at the back end of Squarespace and see if it's something that, I don't know, that helps somebody as we look at this here. So I'm going to bounce over here so you can kind of see here that this is their login page. And so when you hit login, my information should pop up here real quick. Okay, so it looks like it's letting me in now, so I can jump over to my account dashboard, and then so you're not seeing my normal website, you're just seeing sort of the back end of it, right? So I can jump in here to where it says Edit Site, and just to kind of show you real quick, click Edit Site. Here we go. Ready, go. Okay, and then it pops up here, and this is an image I took in Denver when I was still in Denver, and then there's a YouTube video sort of that I have as a backdrop here. And I just have like a couple commercials, a couple little things. And like I said, it's not the most beautiful thing because I don't spend any time on it. Literally, if you look at what I have today, it's probably the same thing that I had about 3 years ago. I've only used it and changed it for a couple little things as I've needed to. But let's say that I want to make a couple changes in the pages. I can jump over here, and let's say I want to talk a little bit about immigration and edit, I don't know, something that I'm talking about for immigration. Here's one of the areas that I do. I can just drag and drop different things here. I can edit this, and then when I want to edit it, it just gives me the options here, right? And then I can drag and drop things around, save it. I can edit the banner settings. Let's click edit here and see what happens. So here you can see that I can edit my contact form, edit my map, where I'm at. I have my social media buttons here at the bottom. And any changes I want to make, I can edit it without having to know any code. Another thing here that I think is important real quick, and again, it doesn't need to be this website, just anything you want to use, but let's see down here, where is it at? Let's go back to home. So let's say I hire a new employee, and I want to bring them in, and then, so one of the first things I would do here is go to email and G Suite, right? Bounce into here, and then it's going to give me the options to add a new user. And then I just have my users that I have right now. Some of them are inactive and some of them are active. And it's kind of difficult, but the cool thing is that I have access to all these emails as a firm email. And it's all just through Squarespace integrated with Gmail and G Suite so that it's all put together that way and I don't have to mess around with it. So, you know, you don't have to be a website expert, a coding genius to be able to set up your own website, integrate it with products like Google and that kind of thing, have a domain name that's not just your name at gmail.com, but it's your name at and then the name of your firm or whatever your domain name is. You don't have to be a genius to do it. You can find a website or a service similar to this one, squarespace.com, to be able to do it that way. And integrate things and not have to know code, right? So that is sort of my advice here today on this, I guess on this topic, right? Finding a website, setting up a website, that would be the way that I would run through it if I were to start again. And hopefully that was of service to you. This video is going to be part of a little bit of a series, the first series I'm going to do on this channel of how to set up your own law firm, but basically the nuts and bolts, the little things you need to do to be able to go solo, right? You know, it's kind of the way to do it on the cheap. You don't have to hire people to do it. You can pay a little bit of money to different people over Fiverr.com and different things and signing up for your website, but you're not in hundreds or thousands of dollars into like a website developer where you're just frustrated because you have no control, you don't know how to code, but you also can't put your vision of what you want in somebody else's head, and it's just back and forth and wasting a bunch of money, a bunch of time. Just do something real quick, pull it out of your head, put it on the website or on the internet, and then move forward. That would be my advice. Jump in, move forward, just like we talked about on the first video. Step number 5 is just jump in and do. And so just log in, get an account on Squarespace, and just start moving, start doing it, start editing your website, integrate it with Google G Suite, and move forward.